There's a plethora of racing games on the Nintendo GameCube, and the general consensus is that Mario Kart Double Dash, Burnout 2, and F-Zero GX are the best the console has to offer. And yeah, those are incredibly unique and fun racing games, but they're all outdone by a very commonly overlooked racing game, Sonic Riders. This game is usually not taken seriously when there's talk of good racing games. Hell, even I made fun of it in one of my older videos, but that's probably due to the laughingstock the future games in the series turned it into. I haven't played Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, but I've played Free Riders on the Kinect, and it's really, really bad, and considering that's the most recent entry in the series, it left a bad taste in everyone's mouth and is probably one of the leading reasons for this series' poor reputation, which is a shame because the entry on the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox was something special, and dare I say it, the best racing game of that console generation. To better illustrate what makes the game so good, I'm going to be pinning it up against the big boys of the generation, Mario Kart Double Dash and F-Zero GX, which are two of the three highest rated racing games on Metacritic of the generation. I was going to compare it to Burnout 2 as well, but I bought the OG Xbox version of the game and apparently the 360 doesn't play it. I would just buy another version for a different system, but I don't want to delay the video for that. Sorry. Maybe it was a sign. Burnout 2 is an arcade racer that seems very different from the others, so I don't know if it would be fair to compare it to them. Anyways, I think the best place to start would be with what each game has to offer in terms of single-player content. Mario Kart Double Dash has all the Mario Kart standards, and that's about it. It's got 4 cups and 16 tracks to race through, and some characters to unlock if you do good. None of the characters really require doing anything special to unlock though. It's pretty standard stuff, but definitely better than Mario Kart 8's approach. Then F-Zero GX, which has quite a bit to do. It's got a story mode, which is pretty much just a mission mode with cutscenes, but the presentation is pretty nice, and it's got everything Mario Kart has. 4 cups, a Grand Prix mode, and time attack. It's got a few more tracks, however. Each cup has 5, making for a grand total of 20, and it's got tons of unlockable characters too. So overall, it's got far more single-player content than Mario Kart Double Dash, but Sonic Riders has just a bit more. In terms of tracks, Sonic Riders has 16, but rather than just a standard Grand Prix, the game has 2 story modes, Heroes and Babylon, which are the same story told from different perspectives, similar to how Sonic Adventure 2 handles it. Each story features 6 of the tracks, and the end of the Babylon story has a boss fight that you defeat by catching up to him and hitting the lamp 3 times. It's not that good, but it's an attempt at a racing game boss fight, so I give it credit for that. The story modes are pretty much just a glorified Grand Prix, but there's a bit more to them, and the presentations and cutscenes are so high quality. For finishing each story, you unlock a couple characters. You get Shadow, Rouge, and Cream for beating the hero story, and Dr. Eggman for beating the Babylon story. And when you beat both of them, there's still more to do. There's a mission mode that adds hours and hours of content to the game. Most of the missions follow a pattern that can get quite repetitive, but the different stages shake things up enough to make it interesting. When you beat all the missions, you unlock some Sega characters from other franchises, Ai, Knight, and Ulala, which is a fantastic addition. Overall, Sonic Riders has more to offer in terms of single-player content, but F-Zero is not far off. But that means nothing if the gameplay isn't fun, so let's talk about that next. Mario Kart Double Dash controls exactly as you'd expect. It's a Mario Kart game. Everything controls great and it feels like a kart racer should. All the tracks are very well designed and super fun, and the game has a twist compared to other Mario Kart games that makes it worth coming back to. Having 2 characters per kart, each with unique items, really adds some strategy to picking your character duo. If you're really good at placing the big banana peel but maybe find yourself stuck toward the back most of the time, maybe a Donkey Kong Baby Luigi combo is right for you. It's nothing huge, but it's a nice strategic twist to the character picking. But being Mario Kart, it's very luck-based, which isn't a very appealing thing to me. No matter how good you are at the game, you could get hit with a blue shell at the end of the race and end up in 4th. I don't have a problem with a little bit of luck, but the items are frantic and it makes it crazy. Then F-Zero GX, which is definitely quality, but definitely not my thing. It's super fast-paced, epic feeling, and controls exactly as it should, but the track designs aren't all that great. They feel so empty and don't take advantage of any mechanics, but that's because the game's gimmick is going fast, but that means there's less time to react to obstacles and thus the tracks can't be as crazy and interesting. The track design is as good as it could be with these amounts of speed. There aren't any items, though you have an energy meter that you can use to go even faster, but you have to be careful. Using too much causes your vehicle to explode and immediately ends the race, which I really don't like. It's super easy to avoid though, just don't boost when it gets low. The energy doesn't gradually go down, only when you actively click boost, and you can refill by driving over these. So the game isn't really luck-based, but there's not a ton of strategy that goes with it, so there's really nothing that makes it satisfying beyond zooming by your opponents. And finally, Sonic Riders, which is the most strategic racing game I've ever played, and I love it. So everyone's riding on power boards. There's a power meter on the side that gradually goes down as you ride, and when you hit the bottom you have to run and find a pit stop to refill your power, but while you're on the board you have the option to boost, which drains your power faster. This creates a sense of resource management. You want to boost to move quicker, but also don't want to have to run and refill your power, which adds tons of time. So when you boost you have to make sure you give yourself enough energy to refill it. It's great. And if you collect a certain number of rings, your meter will expand and allow you to store more power, which adds reasoning to the rings. To refill your power, you can either run into a capsule that has some in it, or perform tons of tricks off ramps. But you have one more way of increasing power depending on your character type. There's speed, flying, and power, each with their own pros. The speed characters can grind on rails, the flying characters can fly off certain ramps and go through rings, and the power characters can smash through certain objects. In doing these things, you gain power, but what I really like is that each of those abilities provides different routes to take and allows each type to skip over certain parts of the track, which is awesome. The track is picked first, so if you know a certain track's flying route's better than the others, you should probably pick a flying character to do your best, which adds a lot more strategy to character selecting than just picking what items you like the most. So, in my opinion, Sonic Riders wins in gameplay too, and out of the three, it has the most character and charm. Mario Kart Double Dash is one of the most unique feeling games in the series, but that doesn't say a whole lot. It lacks a story and is as vanilla and bare bones as a racing game can get, even if it is a unique entry in the Mario Kart series. F-Zero GX is the perfect F-Zero game, improving on everything done previously and making the series the best it could be. It does a great job at what it tries to do. It's the perfect sequel, but it's just that, a sequel. It's got the same problem as Mario Kart Double Dash. Though both games were the best of their series at the time, they don't have as much character as a fresh and newborn series like Sonic Riders. And the last thing I feel is worth comparing is the multiplayer. Mario Kart Double Dash is the most inviting to most people. Everyone understands Mario Kart and can pick it up and play and have tons of fun with you. And there's a really good battle mode, which is always fun with friends. F-Zero GX isn't very inviting. It doesn't have too much strategy or luck, which seems like it gives everyone a fair shot. But lacking both of those doesn't make the multiplayer as fun. You're not sending a shell at your friend to take the lead or taking a strategic shortcut to pass your friend. You're just going crazy fast and trying not to hit the walls, which can be cool to look at and play for a little bit, but really doesn't appeal to as many people. It's only got versus races too. There's no battle mode, which makes it the most lacking in multiplayer. Then there's Sonic Riders, which is a quite complex game, so it isn't the most welcoming to newcomers. If you want to play with a friend, you'll have to explain how it works to them, which will probably lead to confusion and a quicker boredom for them. It has a battle mode too, but it's even more complex and uninviting, so I'm not even going to bother explaining it. So, in terms of multiplayer, Sonic Riders isn't the best, but it certainly isn't the worst. It's just not an easy game to pick up and play like some of the others, but if someone's willing to learn how it works, it'll be a fun time. And in terms of price, it's the most attractive too. Mario Kart and F-Zero will run you a pretty penny, but Sonic Riders is very reasonably priced for the amount of content and fun you can get out of it. Overall, it's quite easy to see that Sonic Riders is an incredibly solid racing game and should not be overlooked anymore. Not only is it the best racing game of the 6th console generation, but I'd argue it's also the best Sonic racing game as well. Sonic R is undeniably a lesser game. It has not aged well and probably wasn't even considered good when it was released. It's clunky, cheap looking, and feeling, and near impossible to get a hang of. And the Sonic and All-Stars racing games and Team Sonic Racing are very good games, but they feel too much like Mario Kart to be considered anything special. They're just trying to be a Sonic version of Mario Kart, and while sure they're fun games, if I'm in the mood for a kart racer I'm going to be playing Mario Kart. Sonic Riders is the most unique and enjoyable Sonic racing game of the bunch. It's trying to be its own thing, and because of that it's definitely worth playing today and should be considered among racing game royalty. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you see and want to see the channel grow, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe so you never miss another video. Thanks so much for stopping by. I'll catch you in the next one.